Okay, so your request is granted. It's being recorded.
Thank you so much. Exchange my contact information before we close.
I would forward it to Judy or Joel, and you can always get it from them.
Wonderful. That's right.
Okay. So Judy made mention that it's about the super patches. And before we get into speaking about the super patches, to really appreciate the value um, that they offer to our, not just our physical health, but our overall well-being, I want to begin by creating a context of understanding um, as it relates to our life. Because while Super Patch, the company, is in the arena of health and wellness, and that is the target market, what the patches actually offer humanity is more than just physical wellness. So, and a lot of, and even by the time we are finished, you're going to be inclined to still think about the patches as though it's another sort of medicine. You're going to be inclined to think it's another option, a natural option to using something to help to get rid of symptoms and illness. And I want to say that that's exactly what it is not. Super patches do not address any illnesses nor any symptoms of any type. So having said that, as we get towards our conclusion, you better get a better grasp of what I'm saying. So let me begin by creating that context of understanding so we would appreciate the full value of what super patches are. Before I do that, let me back up and just say that in my 30 years of being in the health and wellness arena, I am yet to come across anything that has greater impact on human well-being than these super patches. The phrase that you see on the screen, unlocking human potential through mind-body wellness, it's really what it will come down to. And when we say unlocking human potential, I mean potential to be our best throughout. So it's not just feeling better, it's thinking better, and it's living better in every area and on every level of life. Now, that may sound quite broad to say about just sticking a patch on your skin, but that's really what it offers. And so I'm going to go through. My first slide is just to create that context, and then we're going to flow into it. So, as it relates to our potential, I want to just try to create a broader understanding as it lends to the value of the patch. So I'm going to go through a couple of quotes as we go along. Our potential to heal and our potential to be great are two expressions of the same inner power. By recognizing and nurturing this power, we allow the inherent potential for both healing and greatness to naturally flourish. This is important because we get up of our beds every day and we go about life and we are trying to make the best of life. We're trying to have a good quality of life. We're trying to have a good standard of living. We're trying to make life work the best that we know how. But what I want to bring to the forefront is that our health, our physical health and wellness, and our prosperity in life, whatever that may be to the individual, succeeding and achieving whatever may be your greatest and living a healthy life are not two separate things. They're two sides of the same coin. And we go about our lives trying to make a good living, usually at the expense of our health, and we end up in a cycle where that does not serve us to our best. When it comes to our potential, many of us would be aware of what I'm going to say here, but our true potential is really inherent to our design, like everything else. Potential is always inherent to the design of a thing. And our human design, being three-dimensional in nature, body, soul, and spirit, our true potential resides in our spiritual nature. And that potential is for us to live the very best life that is humanly possible. And life is designed in such a way that living an abundant life is really almost automatic if we would live by the qualities and the values of our true nature, which you can define as what you see on the screen as love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faith, and so on. Those are inherent qualities of our true nature. And if we can live by these qualities and they can align with the divine principles that unfold the creative order of life, we are going to be sure to have an abundant life. What I mean by that is we can live a life where there is no sickness, there is no disease, there is no lack, there is no limitation, and it's a life that's driven by purpose, a life that we love to live, a life that is filled with enthusiasm and a zest for living that's constant, peaceful, full of joy that's unshakable. Yes, we could live that way today and have the very best that we could ever dream of. That's how we're naturally supposed to live. But this, you can call this our design is naturally meant to be whole and healthy. Health is our natural state. Wholeness is our natural state. Body, soul, and spirit in harmony and balance is our natural state. And if we could live in that state, our potential, which is limitless, would unfold through the creative order of life where we can have an astounding life. I don't want to belabor that because this evening is not really about that, but that is the starting point. As we go through this flow of life, we are going to be continuously faced with contrast of opposites. Every hour of every day, maybe every minute of every day, life presents us always with having to make choices. So choice becomes the mechanism that we use to navigate this journey as to whether it's going to be abundant or not. And that's important because we come into this world and we learn from a very young age, from babies, from children, we learn from a young age how to make choices that don't serve our true values. In fact, as we grow, we lose our true sense of identity, where our potential really resides, and we adopt a false sense of identity, which is egocentric. And that happens because we learn to make choices that contradict our core values and beliefs. And we do that because we're trying to fit in, we want to be accepted, we make based on societal expectations and so on. But these general insecurities, we begin to choose against our own selves, and we lose our sense of worth. And we can see that every day by when I was in clinical practice, I would ask clients all the time, do you think that health is your most valuable asset? And people would often say, yes, it is. Yet they would willfully make choices that they know is not in their best interest as far as health goes. That's where we end up. We end up knowing better, but not doing better, not just in choosing what is right to eat or whether we exercise or things for our physical wellness, but we do it across the board in every aspect of our life. And it happens because we learn to choose against what we know to be right. We end up choosing against our values. And that brings me to what I want to focus on, and that creates what I call mind-body dissonance. Professionally, the psychologists call it cognitive dissonance, where there is a fracture within our own selves between mind and body, and we develop a very bad relationship, or I should say, an unhealthy relationship between our physical well being and our internal mental and emotional well being. But what happens is that our true essence of being, our spiritual nature, it becomes obscured. That means our true potential fades into the background. And this is where life becomes a struggle. I don't want to get into it now. I have workshops where we go into learning about these things, but this is where everything begins to fall apart in life. This is where life becomes a struggle, life becomes a fight. This is where we can't harness our minds. We are emotionally tossed and turned in life. This is where life becomes tough for us. But from this place of mind body dissonance or a mind body disharmony, rather than get to a life of abundance, life gets fractured because we are struggling between our outer worlds and our inner worlds. Inwardly, our true essence is of spiritual values. The outer world is not necessarily so, but we would choose outer influences over inner values. But we learn that from very young. And it creates this fracture in our perspective and how we approach life and how we deal with life. This is where stress comes from. This is where the inability to manage life effectively comes from. This is where we struggle with self-sabotaging behaviors. This is where we procrastinate, where we can't get our mindsets right. But it splits into two areas that's affecting all of humanity. On one side, it is a reduced quality of life because we struggle with lifestyle diseases, and a struggling standard of living because we're always fighting to make ends meet. These are not two separate things. Lifestyle illnesses and struggling to make life work are two sides of the same coin. I'm not going to belabor that, but we're going to be focusing on physical health or lifestyle illnesses. But I want to highlight that is not something affecting humanity, some anomaly that humanity develops as we go through life. It is something that all of us are earning every day by every thought we think and every emotion we express. The qualities of our thoughts and the quality of our emotions is determining the quality of the balance between our minds and our bodies. And perhaps we'll get more of a glimpse of that as we go along. But as long as we prioritize outer influences over the inner values of our well-being, we are going to live with an inner disharmony, an inner conflict of life, which we become unconscious to. But this is where stress and negative emotions, which people struggle with every day, and that is the root of all lifestyle disease, not some. Every lifestyle and autoimmune disease is rooted right here. This is validated by the sciences of psychoneuroimmunology and epigenetics. This is where it is. And I'm saying that to stress that when we develop these illnesses, we are conditioned to think of sickness and disease, or we are conditioned to think about health in a particular way that our approach to solve it, our solution for it, is one that does not address the source of the problem. And the truth is, if we are going to regain mind-body harmony, which is where healing and regeneration naturally happens, because once mind and body can come back into harmony, the essence of our true nature, our true spiritual essence, naturally begins to surface. And that means that our thoughts, our emotions, our words, and our actions must all align with the spiritual values of our inner well-being. That is what must guide our life. And if we can learn to do that, now I understand that that's a tall order, that you don't just snap your fingers, and this is not about changing your diet and everything falling into place. This is about learning to manage and cultivate our lives in responsible and meaningful ways. And so from here forward, the whole focus is going to be the mind-body dissonance that comes out of the way we have been taught to choose against our own values from a very young age, and it expresses itself in a multitude of ways. The result is we deal with disease and we deal with, there are two pandemics. One is a pandemic of disease and one is a pandemic of economic struggle. And this is what it looks like in the world. The World Health Organization calls it the global burden of disease. It is what's killing more people on this planet than any other form of death on this planet is lifestyle-induced diseases. And it is what's robbing us of quality of life and standard of living. And it's coming out of the way we've been taught to think and the way how we have been conditioned to manage and deal with life. It's how we've been acculturated, it's how we've been conditioned by society. And if we are going to move forward from here and truly live a better quality of life and recover from any illness and not have it as we get older, we need to take a step back and start to understand that health and the other side of it, sickness and disease, is not something that just happens as we go along in life or because of age as we get older. It is because of the way we think and the way we have been taught to manage life because of the perceptions and the beliefs that we develop along the way. These are all things that we have control over to change. Now, this is looking at health from a little bit different perspective, whereby you're not looking to treat a disease. You're not looking to treat disease. As long as we think about trying to treat disease, we are going in the wrong direction. True healing always comes from within. At this point in time, if you're not familiar with what is called spontaneous healing or spontaneous remission, I would like to encourage you to Google it, research it, chat GPT it, and you're going to see that there are countless resources, books, all type of medical tests that validate what they call spontaneous healing, which is basically people that have medically incurable conditions and people that have terminal illnesses who all recover completely. Talking about people that could not see, that could now see. People that had tumors in their brains and around the body, and the tumors all disappear. Talking about people that could not walk, and they're walking. People who needed knee replacement, and the cartilage rebuilt on its own. We're talking about things that are all medically documented, and they call it spontaneous because there is no known cause. But when they have studied tens of thousands of these cases around the world, one common thread shows up in it because there are no specific things that are common to what people from all walks of life were doing. What shows up as the common thread is that because of the terminal illness or a short time to live, these people all came face to face with life, face to face with death. And they began to re-examine themselves. They began to come to terms with who the true nature and what really matters in life. And no longer living based on the expectations of people. It started to cause a cascade of change. And they began to look at life differently, approach life differently, respond to life differently, see themselves differently, develop a new sense of identity, and they started to live differently. And along the way, the conditions just disappeared. Anyway, I want to encourage you, look at it, there's so much documented research and books out there that's written on it that with so many case studies to tell you what I'm saying. All of that just to say, the human being has the capacity to heal from anything, and that healing power is within. And that healing power is the same power that helps us to live maximally successful in every area. It's not two different things. And it all comes down to how we manage our minds and how we manage our emotions. That's what it comes down to. And this is also scientifically validated. So people say, as you get older, you're bound to get sick. That is the thinking that comes out of that narrow context of fragmented living. This aging is not a reason for illness. It happens to pretty much everybody. It's so common, we call it normal. It's not normal, it's just common. We get through this earthly life by our body. The body is the vessel that takes us through the experience of life. but the mind is the gateway that shapes how those experiences are going to be. And we need to have both of them in sync. See, so when we live in ways where what we think is not necessarily what we are saying, and if you understand what I'm saying, pretty much everybody lives this way. And what we feel is not necessarily what we may say or what we may do. If we can show what's going on in our minds on a screen above our heads, we would see that we don't live according to our thoughts and emotions, and our actions are all fragmented, and it's supposed to be one and the same. That fragmentation expresses itself into every cell in the human body that we can't get into now. So let me help us to understand a little bit how it works and then how the patches fit into this. The key to mind-body balance is found in neurology. That's just the science about how the brain and the nervous system works, and it's the communication network between mind and body. So I'm saying that mind and body, they converge in neurology. Every aspect of mind, our thoughts, emotions, beliefs, perceptions, is processed by neurology. It's processed by the brain and the nervous system. Every aspect of physiological function is processed by the brain and nervous system. We'll call this the hardware. So the functions of mind and body, they're all processed by the same hardware. And how it works for the two aspects is that physiologically for the body, which we're going to call the operating system, trying to use the language of the computer, this is the genetic program that's pre-installed on the hardware. This is the innate intelligence that built the body and runs the body, and it's what's running trillions of functions right now without our involvement. 95% of all that's happening in the body is automatic. It's run by the autonomic nervous system. And it's all encoded in the brain, and it happened from the time we were developing in the womb until now. It's running everything. This programming is based on positive energy. It's based on order. It's based on harmony. It's based on balance. It's based on unity. This is the pre-installed programming that runs all the physiology down to the genetic level. How it does that? It does that through programs encoded into the brain. When it comes to the aspects of mind, this is now lifestyle programming, which we'll call the software. This is encoded into the brain as well through our experiences of life, the acquired patterns of thoughts, emotions, and habits that create our life experiences, which can either modify, enhance, or disrupt the genetic programming. And what happens is that the conditioning of how we are conditioned to think and live and be, these patterns of thinking that are on the negative side for most people, because of how the world has conditioned us, suppressed traumas, negative responses to life that we call stress, unhealthy habits, these will disrupt the genetic programming that runs physiology. What we have to understand by this is that the programming that's running physiology, and we're focusing at this point on physical wellness, the condition of the body, the programming that runs physiology is all energetic. It's electromagnetic waves. It's not a physical structure. It's waves of energy that can be measured in the brain. These waves of energy direct neural codes to run the body. Thoughts and emotions are waves also of energetic waves, and because they're incompatible with the operating system, it distorts the whole signaling. It is like having a radio that is not properly tuned onto the station, and there's a lot of static. And so the information that's being passed into the body, it's out of sync. It's garbled. It's not clean. It's not clear. And so systems are not running properly. What you want to do is when the receiver is properly tuned onto the station and the signal is clear, that's when you have positive emotion. That's when love, peace, joy, gratitude, That's when you love life. When you're in that state, it now becomes harmonious with the genetic program, the operating system. Everything is now in sync. All systems now begin to function optimally. So, and what I'm saying to you is all scientifically validated. Now, we can't pop a pill and we can't drink a drink and suddenly begin to think on the things that we're supposed to think on and respond to life emotionally. That is something that we have to cultivate. And we have been trying that for many years, and it's usually a struggle. Why? Because it's programs we're running against. Just like 95% of biological function is pre-programmed and it's run automatically, 95% of how we respond to life is automatic. We don't consciously decide I'm going to get angry. We don't consciously decide I'm going to be offended when somebody says something. It just reflexively happens. These are learned experiences, learned ways of being that are encoded in the brain. They are programs that run our life, and they're subconsciously programmed, and we're not aware of it. It just runs the way how we see life and respond to life and how we think. And that is where it really matters, because that is where the whole system goes out of sync and spirals down, that leads us down the road. But once these disrupted neural programs happen, that's where the distortion between mind and body happens, and it affects efficient physical and mental functioning. So rather than be very clear in our minds, sharp in our minds, good decision making, well focused in life, good emotional resilience, good mental resilience, very sharp, and rather than have high energy, strong functioning bodies, we tend to go through a cascade of a gradual decline. But when we can regain that balance between mind and body, it restores the performance that naturally, that mind-body coordination, it restores that natural, and it optimizes how not just our body functions, but how our mind functions. Because mind and body converge in neurology, if we can keep our neurology balanced, not only will our body work better, but our minds will work better. And that has far-reaching implications beyond what we could talk about this evening. This is how the current model of healthcare has taught us that when the mind and body go out of balance, and it begins with simple things like not enough energy, poor sleep, aches and pains, we start to show signs of deficiencies in how our body is working, and they eventually cascade and spiral down to where it now has a name as a disease, and the solutions are, and this is the entire healthcare model right here. Pharmaceutical drugs, over-the-counter medicines, holistic medicine, stuff, whether it be natural or whether it be synthetic, it's all about introducing something into the body to try to change the outcome of bad living, imbalanced living. However you may want to phrase it, irresponsible living, living based on ignorance. But it leads us to a place where we've now developed a disease, which is just an outcome. The disease and the illness is never the problem. It is only the outcome of the way we have lived. So we use these current solutions to try and fix the outcome. And when we try to fix the outcome by introducing things external, while it may save our life and it may even help us in many ways, it does not restore health nor prevent the development of disease. In fact, it comes with a lot of contraindications and side effects, and there are a lot of issues along with it, but this is all we have today. When it comes to the patch, I want us to think about the patch in the same way that we would think about putting on a pair of spectacles. It is that simple, but it's also that profound. And I'll show you. If any of you have on spectacles, or you know people with spectacles or glasses, just think about that. Think about when the eye begins to get, eye function becomes impaired. and you just by simply applying glasses to your face, blurred vision becomes clear instantly. You don't put in anything inside your body. No drugs, completely non-invasive. Simply put this device on your face, and immediately you can see clearly. In a very similar manner, when the brain functions and the brain waves go out of sync, when these neural programs become disrupted, just by simply applying a super patch, completely drug-free, non-invasive, does nothing and puts nothing into your body, instantly, just as instant as the glasses, instantly it begins to reorganize and rebalance all the neural pathways so your brain begins to function more efficiently. It becomes more coordinated, and the result is better physiological function, better mental function, just by sticking on a patch. How is that even possible? Well, I'm going to just show you a short 2-minute video where an experiment is actually done with it. And I've used similar devices. I have similar devices which I'm using, and I'm also using it with the blood to show how they even affect the blood in a very short space of time. So I'm going to just show 2 minutes of a video here that will help us to understand a little bit more.
Hi everyone, I'm Jay Dallywell. I'm the CEO and founder of Vox Life and the creator of Vox Life HPT. Today, I want to talk to you about our Harmony Neuro Patch. And what this product does is actually stimulates receptors on our skin, sending a neurosignal to our brain to help it reach homeostasis. This is the only product in the world that relies on the neurohaptic system that every single one of us has to optimize our neurology and optimize our health. Today, with the help of Dr. Mark DeBrincat, our VP of Clinical Strategy, we're going to be using an FDA-cleared 19-channel EEG headset, as well as FDA-cleared software to visualize, record, and show the impact that our technology has on our neurology and our brains to help it reach optimal performance. What we want to show today is how the Harmony Neuro Patch helps that dysregulated yellow, blue, and red colors in the brain maps transform into that healthy green homeostasis neurology that is the foundation of health and wellness. So what we're looking at right now is a neurological QEEG output of Mike's limbic system. The 19 channels are reading over 60,000 brainwaves a second and generating an output of neurofunction and brainwaves. What we want to see now is where that suboptimal red and yellow colors are. We want to see them turning as much as possible to a healthy green with the application of our HPT patch. So we've applied the patch now to Mike's arm, and within 10 seconds, you're seeing that predominant yellow and red become predominantly green. Just for clarification, ladies and gentlemen, there's nothing in the world that has this output at this rate of speed without drugs, without chemicals, without electricity. That's the power of Vox HPT. So when we see a healthy green neurology, what we're looking at is a brain and a mind in homeostasis. It is operating in its optimal function. And this is so important. And this is why it's so important. So Vox Life HPT, as we demonstrated with our neuro patch, helps the central nervous system reach homeostasis in our neurology. And the reason this is so important for overall wellness and health is that neurology is the top of the pyramid of our physiological health and wellness paradigm. First is neurology at the very top, then there's chemistry, then there's biology, then there's physics and mechanics. Neurology will have an impact all the way through our entire physiology. Healthy neurology, healthy body, better wellness.
So let me just tell you briefly how the technology works. Very simple, but it's based on Nobel Prize research and science that goes back to 1939, when these two researchers discovered that all atoms, including every atom in every cell of the human body, transmits and receives electromagnetic signals. That's a very important thing, which you won't get into now, but that's really important to know, because the language that the brain and nervous system uses throughout the body is electromagnetic signals. But every cell in the body reads that. That's why I said earlier, every thought, and every emotion that we are thinking and emitting is reaching every cell inside the human body. Anyway, that's a different conversation. Later on, built on that understanding, which by the way changed the whole imaging technology of medicine, that discovery, then came along these other two Nobel Prize laureates, and they discovered what they call piezo channels or ion channels in the skin that detect vibration, texture, and pressure of anything that touches the skin, and it transmits that stimuli into electrical signals to the brain, where the brain interprets the information. This happens with all five of our sensory perceptions. Each of our five sensory perceptions, they all translate vibration into electrical signals, goes to the brain, and the brain does what it does in terms of processing it, the information. To understand this, what they call haptic perception. Haptic perception is just the science of how humans are able to interact with their world through the sensations of the skin. And to understand how this works, you can think about Braille. Braille, how blind persons use by these raised dots that's on a surface, and blind persons, they pass their finger across these dots. If you ever see Braille on a sign or anywhere, touch it with your finger, and you would wonder, how could people tell anything just by touching it? Because your fingers cover multiple dots at a time. But what we're not aware of is that the dots are arranged in what they call tactile patterns. And when you put your fingers on it, your fingers are detecting, these ion channels detect the vibration of the patterns and sends a signal to the brain as to whether it is a word, a symbol, a number, a letter, or what the case may be. Remember that all material in the universe, everything in the universe, including every cell in the human body, sends and receives electromagnetic signals. Years ago, everybody I'm sure here may be familiar with acupuncture. My daughter is an acupuncturist, and we've had conversations, many conversations about her work in acupuncture. For 4,000 years, they've known that when you place a needle in various meridians in the body, it creates a biological response. Now, for years, they could not, they know when they put the needle there, what happens. They could not understand the mechanism of what is actually making it happen. Today, because of these same ion channels, they understand that. And it's now taking a different, it's taking science of the skin to the brain at a different level. So, in essence, these are how the patches work. When you stick a patch on your skin, the patch, all the patch has on it is a pattern that's engraved on the patch. When you stick it onto your skin, the channels detect the vibration of the patch and sends a signal to your brain, and it does it instantly. What Super Patch has been able to discover over 15 years of research and development is what pattern will correspond with which neural pathway. So if there's a pathway, the neural network in your brain that governs over immune function, or there's a neural pathway that governs over pain management, there's a neural pathway in the brain that governs over how your body manages stress, how your body digests food, as the case might be. So they've just discovered over 15 years of research and development which pattern rebalances, repairs which specific pathway, helping to optimize that physiological function. It has now become peer-reviewed and published research, and it's now being looked at, being accepted, and now being going deeper into it all over the world. Last year, Super Patch was invited to present their technology and their innovation at the World Congress of Psychiatry, the World European Sleep Research Society, and the World Congress of Pain. And they were received with such glowing reports because never has it been that you can now have an intervention into physical well-being with such great impact, without introducing anything into the body, just simply by bringing that mind-body communication back into balance. And so unlocking that potential that resides within, the very intelligence that built the body, runs the body, monitors the body, from the time a single cell becomes damaged, the body instantly goes to repair it and is doing that 24/7. It never stops. That mind-body communication, that's what the patches are doing. So like Braille, the tactile patterns on each super patch send a sensory vibration as electrical signals to the brain, and it targets the repair or the rebalance of neural pathways linked to specific physical and emotional functions. This restores the alliance for optimal physical and mental performance. So understand that if you have a flu and a fever and your body is aching and you have all the full-fledged symptoms of a flu and you put on a super patch, it's called Defend, which brings your immune system up to high regulation. You stick that patch on, the patch, and within, some people within minutes, some people within hours rather than days, the symptoms go away. And it is not the patch that did anything to the flu or to the symptoms of the flu. The patch did nothing to that outcome. All the patch does, it rebalances, it regulates the mechanism that heals the body. So in other words, the immune system will heal the body, and it will heal it quickly if it's functioning optimally. All the patch would have done is rebalance the neural pathway that governs the immune function so that the immune system will regulate to its peak and move the problem up and heal the problem in a very short space of time. The patch itself is not doing the job. The body heals itself. It has the capacity to heal from anything if we can bring the balance back. And that balance is between mind-body integration, mind-body harmony. And all the patches do is help to those brain waves that are static and they're not clean and clear, they're out of tune. It just brings them back into tune, optimizes biological function, and the body does what it naturally does, guided by its own innate intelligence. That is so remarkable. That's an approach that's never been done in medicine before. This is not targeting the outcome. This is fixing the mechanism that deals with the outcome. And you got to hear that a couple of times for that to really sink in. They have 13 now, different super patches. And they're drug-free performance and wellness solutions that enhance what your brain and body are meant to do when they're properly coordinated. That's what the patches do. They help to coordinate mind-body balance so your body naturally does what it will do. And what the patches are, the patches guide us. They may be for various symptoms, but they're guiding us towards areas of mind-body balance that have gone out of sync. And when they bring them back into sync, it just works better. So these are solutions. It doesn't only enhance physical, but mental well-being. They're backed by research proven by science, and they address the highest needs in physical, mental, and lifestyle performance. They are very effective. I've seen them work in seconds, they can work in minutes, they can work in hours, they can work in days, because everybody's neurology is different. Everybody's pre-existent imbalance is different. Everybody's biology is not out of sync to the same way, and age and various factors. But what you can be sure of is that when you put a patch on and it starts to reorganize that neural balance, the natural response is your body is going to start to feel better. You don't have to worry about contraindications. It doesn't matter what kind of medications you're on. There's no contraindications because there are no ingredients. There are no frequencies. There's no medicines. There's no electricity. There's nothing in it except a pattern that's engraved on it. So they're completely safe, non-invasive, and they're very easy to use. They're very safe for children. Somebody asked me yesterday, how safe are they for children and what age? 4 years old, you can use them. I know someone who used it on their baby that was 2 years old, and it's fine. But I would say 4 years old, but safe for children, safe for the elderly, and they're surprisingly affordable, in my opinion. The other side of the super patch is this: when you can bring mind and body into balance, or when a neural pathway, let's say the one for the immune system, and I like to use that because weak immunity is something that is pervasive in society. But if we can bring the neural networks that governs our immune function and bring that into its natural balance, the longer we maintain that over time, the brain, through what is called neuroplasticity, reorganizes and rebalances and rewires itself to this new balance so it can sustain it longer over time. When that happens, during the process of that, we are seeing greater and greater improvements. But once we get to that stage, we're now gone to another level of disease prevention. We're now at another mode of reduced degeneration. This is now taking you into another level of what the patches will do: prevention and reduce degeneration. But here's the thing: there is a reason why our neural programs are not functioning optimally, because of the dissonance between, or the disharmony between, mind and body, which is being influenced by our patterns of thinking and how we were responding to life emotionally. So that when we begin to rebalance, when the brain begins to rewire it to this new balance, if we do not begin to nurture our lives and begin to deal with habits of lifestyle that may have contributed to our systems being out of balance, then we got to keep using the patches because we're just filling up a bucket with holes in it, if you understand what I mean. And so that's something that we want to also be mindful of. But the patches help us to do that, because with repeated use, as the brain reorganizes itself to the balance, it's not just feeling better in your body, we also begin to feel better in our minds. Our mentality begins to shift. Our sense of well-being, we start to develop more emotional resilience. We start to develop more mental resilience. We start to get more clarity in our thinking. We become more precise in our decision making. We start to notice a shift in that. But most people don't know what to do with it. They just say, I just feel better about myself. I just have a different sense of well-being. That's because the brain is functioning more orderly. When we did that test, when you saw the CEO do that EEG test, that EEG test on the limbic system, when he says bringing the brain into homeostasis, it just means that the brain becomes more orderly in its function and less restless and erratic in its function, more coordinated and more coherent in its function. When that can be maintained over long periods of time, and over time you can maintain that, it starts to shift our whole sense of mentality once we can stay consistent with it. What we need to do now is that now that we are feeling better, what the hell? Well, well, well. How did that happen? How did that happen? 'Cause, 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 'cause,
We are hearing you, Dr. Homer. We are hearing you.
But are you seeing anything? Because my whole screen just went down.
Yes, I am seeing the screen, the last slide that you had up. A healthy neurology.
I don't know. A call came in and it just cut my entire. Here it is again.
Yes, that's okay. We coming close to the end, so
Yeah, we're coming close to the end, but I need to.
yes.
I'm just going to turn this off so that.
Okay.
Good. Well, I'm looking for my screen, so I'm looking to see where we are. Are we back up?
Yes, yes.
Okay, good. All right, so I'm just going to run through. Some of the patches with you, and you will see some of the benefits, the indications along with the patches, and although these are indications that are there, you need to know that um, they vary in terms of it could do more than what it says that is there, and how it would impact each individual could vary because we are all different. What is important to note is that our neurology is as individual as our fingerprint and our DNA is. So, and because it's the innate intelligence of the body that's driving it, it will do what your body needs to be done in the way it needs to be done. So you cannot say for any two people it's going to happen or to the same degree for any two people. And that's the kind of flexibility, but that's also the power of it because it is customized or it is you are uniquely fixed in what you need to be fixed. And your body is what's driving that. Um, For people who have issues with sleeping, this takes us into that REM sleep where our body does the repairing, rejuvenation. This is one of my favorite patches, the Peace Patch. You're going through a lot of, anxiety and stress. You're not managing your stress well. This will work very well for you. The best benefit for this is one of my favorite patches, is that it balances the autonomic nervous system, and that is really, really huge and far-reaching for what it means for how it's going to enhance and improve biological functions in your body. One of my favorite that I think everybody should wear this every day is the Defend for good immune support. This I have never seen anything work with your immune system and modulate it so effectively better than this. Um, Very, very impressive. 70%, 72% reduction based on the clinicals of pain when you use the Freedom Patch, pains of various types for athletic performance. And it's not just for athletic performance, but certainly when you're in the gym or if you're an athlete and you use this, you're going to see far greater performance. Definitely more power, more strength. When I go into the gym, I clearly see the difference when I use this. The focus patch, another one of my favorites. I do a lot of work in terms of research, reading. When I'm doing that, the first 3 days I use this, I couldn't tell anything different. As I continue using it, today I can tell you that, everybody needs to, the kind of sharpness and clarity, multitasking almost seems like a singular task. You become so sharp. My creativity, I find, actually has gotten better with this. Burning more calories at rest for those who are looking to get off those extra pounds, but you can't get as much activity you want in. This will help you along the way. For us men who may tend to get low when as we age, our masculine performance tends to decline. This will boost you back up in that area. This also is a patch that I'm becoming to really, really like because a number of people, what I've seen happen with people using Lumi, which is for healthier skin throughout your body. Since I've been using it, I can see the difference in my skin. I could also tell the difference in the texture of my hair. But a number of people that have used this, it's really impressive in how it works with your skin. For people who are struggling with addictions, with food or any substances, this helps you to overcome that. I just want to say something quickly about this as it relates to understanding the mind-body balance, because our tendency is going to always to think about a patch fixing the condition, and it doesn't work that way. There are people who would take the kick it to kick a habit, and let's say it's a food addiction they have, um, and after using the kick it, they'll get to a point where you can bring the best of the food in front of them, and they will not feel the compulsion or the need for it because it will soften and regulate the emotional centers of the brain because all addictions are emotionally encoded in the brain. So when it regulates and balances that, you don't feel the addiction. You don't feel the compulsion that I would like to have it. You can now just make a choice without the struggle. But the choice is up to you because what has happened, which I've seen with one person, is that they'll say, I can make the choice without the struggle. But boy, and they start to remember how much they enjoyed what they were doing. Now, you could dwell on that enjoyment and you could dwell on the pleasure of how it was when you did it enough because the more you focus on it, the more it magnifies and you can talk yourself into still going and do it. So I'm just making the point is that while the compulsion for the addiction may be softened and you're not feeling the struggle of it, it's still up to the individual to make the choice to go the opposite way. Because you can trick yourself into still giving into it because you have a patch. Just like the diabetic who eats the junk and eats the sugars because they take insulin and it leads you down a wrong road. This also is a really good patch that people really should consider. You don't need to be depressed or you don't need to be in a low mood to take this. This helps to regulate centers of your brain that keeps you a more optimistic and a more positive sense of well-being about you. And this is the latest one they came up with. When you use this is energy on demand. You do not need energy drinks. This does not give you a stimulation like energy drinks do. But when you need energy, you have energy there and it's going to run you right through the day. I like it because it does not stimulate you like an energy drink. The patches are very easy to use. You just basically peel and you stick them on. And there's a Facebook page that has thousands of testimonies from people all over the world that's using the patches of how they work. So accessing them, you can get these from Judy, from her website, from Joelle, from her website, but they're not available on retail platforms. And if you see them on retail platforms, they won't be there for very long because the IP is protected in 186 countries, and Super Patch will have those retail platforms take them down once it's reported. Last month, I had to make a report on a retail platform where I saw them, and Super Patch Compliance Department reached out to that platform and they took them down. So and as you can see, the cost of them, this is US dollars, by the way. So this is one way that you can get them is online, get them directly from an affiliate, or get it online from the affiliate's, the associate's website. Judy is an associate, just like Joel is an associate, just like I am an associate. And we do that by joining the company. Super Patch gives an opportunity, and this may not be for everyone, but for anyone who may be familiar, who may be interested in exploring it, because it's quite unique in how it works. It's very meaningful and rewarding. It's globally scalable, which is something you need to look at today if you want to look at building financial stability. And it's really an exclusive model. So for those who are interested, that is something that you can look at. So, any questions on anything so far? We can get into that. There's a question here. Does this work the same way as the patches for cigarette smokers? No, those are transdermal patches. Patches that people use to stop smoking, patches that they use for hormone balancing, patches that they use for different types of, they even have patches that they may use for pain management. They're all transdermal, meaning that they release a medicine of some type into your body in order to get an effect. So instead of taking a pill or taking an injection, you put a patch on the skin, it goes through your skin into your bloodstream, and it's just a different method of getting the medicines into your body. No, this has no ingredients of any type. This is stimulating the skin to send a signal to your brain to rebalance the neurology that manages your biology. So if it is that you have an addiction, like say to smoking, and you put on the kick it patch regulates the centers of the brain that deals with those emotional encoding for addiction. You no longer feel the need or the compulsion for that substance or that food, and you now make your choice. You now have to create a new network in your brain now for not doing it. You see, what happens is that whether it be addictions, whether it be habits, whether it be character traits, when we begin to change and move away from it, the neural networks, because we have a neural network for everything that we do. We brush our teeth. Every habit has a neural network. When we move away from it, those networks begin to prune apart. And so it eventually gets to a point where you can't even remember what it was like to even be that way or feel that way. And that's when all the synapses are disconnected. In the same way, when we say, okay, we've been living a particular way for a number of years and now we choose another direction in life, anything new that we are doing, the brain now starts to create new synaptic connections for this new habit. And the more and more we do it, the more and more they become hardwired. And then pretty soon it becomes second nature. We don't have to think about it anymore. And that's what Super Patch, to me, is a bridge now for us that helps us to cross into living a more effective way, living a more effective life by getting our mindsets, by getting our characters right. Part of the benefit of that is you just will feel better in your body. Your body's going to run better. You're going to get rid of a bunch of symptoms, but it's not really about that. That's just one effect of it. There are two sides to it, is that your body's going to feel well and your mind is going to start to become better coordinated. Your brain becomes better coordinated, so your mind begins to work more orderly. What that means is change becomes more effective now. Where we struggle to change before, where we find that it was like a uphill paddle to change certain habits, we find it's easier to do it. What we need to do now is engage that process. And so it's way more than stick on a patch and get rid of a symptom. If you keep wearing that patch and you keep those neural pathways balanced, and your brain begins to rewire itself to this new balance, it has another effect that begins to come in. And you'll hear, and if you do it yourself, you'll see it. But Judy and you'll hear people talk about it more and more. You're going to hear people saying, there's this guy that posted a testimony a couple of weeks ago in the group chat that we have, and he said, I've been using the patches for 1 month, and he talked about how good he feels in his body, and he said, I do not know if these patches change your personality or not, but I can tell you that having used it for 1 month consistently, I am beginning to feel like my personality is changing. That was just his description of it. But of course, it's not changing his personality. He's just beginning to feel what others are feeling like. I just feel good about myself. I don't know what it is, because this is so new to people. When your brain starts to function more coherently and more in order, the average person don't really know what that is, because most people don't know that experience. So they just say, I just feel better about myself. I just feel good about life. Other people have said to me, I find that when I'm stuck in traffic, it used to really perturb me, but I find that it's not really getting me that perturbed anymore. That's because more emotional resilience, because better coordination of brain function, better coordination of brain waves. And that's what that means is that has such far-reaching implications to how that can change our lives, you see? So Super Patch is way more than just sticking a patch to feel better in your body.
We have two questions, Dr. Holman.
Has the patch been used for Alzheimer's and autism? people have used it for that. Before I say anything about that limit, there is no patch for any disease, period. There are patches that's going to help to enhance the body to function better. The body recognizes and heals itself once everything is in balance. Now, in terms of autism and Alzheimer's, it depends on the person's age, it depends on the level of degeneration that might have taken place. The earlier it is, the easier naturally it would be to help it. But yes, there are a combination of patches, things like depression, things like bipolar, things like Alzheimer's, things, the autism, uh, different cognitive decline functions. Yes, you get them particularly in the early stages, and you do that, and there are a combination of patches that will do that. There are even combinations of patches that you can use to help you rewire your subconscious mind and reinstall new programs as well. That's another conversation. But yes, neurological problems, they help with that. But again, it depends, and everybody's situation is different. If someone came to me and said that I'm having issues with Alzheimer's, or my mother or parent, whatever, if it is that it's been going on for a long time and it's advanced and the person is in their senior years, I will not make any promises on it, because naturally as we get older, from the time we get to our 40s, it begins to change. Our brain structure begins to change. By the time we get to our 60s and 70s, the brain matter, the white matter in the brain has shrunken and changed so much that neural function has already declined for a lot of people by the time we get into their senior years. When you start to get now Alzheimer's, which adds other components to it. So recovery, the older the person is, the greater, the harder recovery is going to be. So if I get somebody that says, well, it's early, it's now early stages, great. You have more of a chance that it will help with that. But the correct answer is no, we don't have a patch for Alzheimer's and autism, but we have patches that will help to enhance neurology, help to affect better brain function. And with also bear in mind, the patches do not replace nutrition. So when you introduce things, the vitamin D, the omega-3 fatty acids, some magnesium glycate, other things that will help with brain function and help to rebuild brain structure, then of course there are a lot you can do to help, depending on how far the situation is. Has there been any known progress for people with Parkinson's? Yep, definitely. Again, the same thing applies as how bad it is. But I've had a couple of people with Parkinson's. I have one client up here in the States, not very bad. He just mild shakes. Sometimes you may not even notice. If you look at him long enough, you'll start to see. But his hands and his feet shake more than his head would shake. And after about 6 weeks of using it, he has no shakes at all. And he only used one patch, by the way, and that was Liberty. Just only Liberty, he did that. But there are other things that will help, that would even take it further. But Liberty was enough for him. I had another guy who has had Parkinson's for years. I mean, I wasn't sure it would do anything for him at all. After 3 months of using 4 different patches, he said, I feel better here. And he talked about things that always improve, but he said the shaking and the Parkinson's, no result. I'm not shaking, hasn't done anything with the Parkinson's, but sleeping better, I have more energy. My quality of life has improved, but my Parkinson has not. So he said, I will continue to take it. After maybe 2 months later, he said, the shaking is now beginning to stop. It's now going down. It's not going down. Now, why it took so long for him, everybody's different. The other guy that took only the Liberty, his one, I would say maybe 6 weeks, or not even that long, maybe 6 weeks. Maybe less than 6 weeks, his shaking stopped. So yes, there are things you can do for Parkinson's. If you've had it, the longer a person has had it, the longer you may have to be using it, the more imbalances that your system have to work through. So yes, any neurological problem, it's going to have a positive effect on. The nuances is just based on individual and age and different factors. Is there any particular part of the body that the patches should be placed, and how long does it keep them on for? You can put them pretty much anywhere on your body. You don't want to put it over scars where the nerve endings might have been severed from an injury. You do not want to put it on very hairy areas that would change it would not stick properly, but it could also change the pattern on the patch if you're very hairy. But basically, anywhere from under your feet all the way through your torso, your back, your front, you can put it pretty much anywhere. Because they last for 24 hours, after 24 hours, the pattern on the patch starts to break down. It starts eroding because of body heat, oils in the skin, perspiration. It starts to erode the pattern on the patch. But having it on for 24 hours, you're likely to shower during that period of time. They're safe to use in water. You can go into the sea or to a pool or whatever with it. What I will say is you got to make sure the edges are stuck down really well, because if the edges are not stuck well and water get under, it'll start to come on. But they stick generally pretty well. I've had them on in the sea. I have surfed with them. I have done, and they stay on very well. I would also say this, that sometimes they can stick so well that you may, taking them off, you may just take them off very carefully, because if you really put them on and they're really stuck on well and you just go and rip it off, you can create an irritation right there. They'll get irritated and you won't be able to stick a patch in that spot for maybe a 2 or 3 day period, because you're going to create an immune response with that irritation, and the body's going to create a little inflammation and start to heal it back. So yeah, they last for 24 hours. You can stick them pretty much anywhere.
I am seeing Trevor raised his hand. I'm not sure if he asked a question, and then Andre asked a question. So there are two persons there. I'm not sure.
Yes, Trevor.
Yes, yes, good night to you and to everyone. I have no doubt that it is working. I would like access just to 2 clinical studies that I can review, the 1 or 2. At some point you can provide a link. But I want to understand it a little bit more in terms of how it works. I know you said it's not a chemical action. It's just a stick-on of this patch. In some way, does this interact with what is called meridians by any chance?
No.
No? Okay.
No. Everything that touches your skin, everything. If a fly lands on your skin, everything that touches your skin sends a signal to your brain. If I stuck you with a pin and you said ouch, you could only have said ouch because the signal went to your brain first before you could even say ouch. But yet, it seemed almost instantly you said ouch. But that signal first had to travel to your brain. Everything that touches your skin does it. It does that. What you might want to review, there are clinical studies that I can direct you to with a link. Several clinical studies and all the neuroscience references, they're on the website. So you could look that up. You also may want to look up the science of haptic perception. There are also research papers on the website about haptic perception and these piezo channels and the research and the science on it. So it is like this. When the pattern touches your skin reads the vibration of the pattern. Anything that touches your skin, it sends a vibration to your brain. But it doesn't go to your brain as a vibration, it goes to your brain as an electrical signal. The skin converts the vibration into an electrical signal. That goes to your brain processes it. What is proprietary to Super Patch is that the 15 years of research, they've been able to correlate a pattern, what that pattern should look like in order to send the signal that balances a specific neural network. That's what's proprietary to them, is that when a neural network is not firing clean and clear and sending the information to the body clearly, and it needs to be rebalanced, there is a pattern that will send and balance that signal out from skin straight to the brain. They have discovered through the 15 years of research what pattern will rebalance what neural network. And so this pattern touches the skin, it sends the signal, the brain processes it, it tunes the network, the biological response happens. That's in effect how it works. So you study, if you did enough research on haptic perception, if you look at the research papers on the website, if you look at the clinical studies they have there as well as numerous papers of the neuroscience research that's built on, you have that information available to you. And I can get that to you. So yes, there is that. Of course, as they say, the proof is always in the pudding. You try it and you see how it works. The other thing that if no one has had this done yet, you should do this. And it's good to do it with people without telling them anything, without telling them anything about the patch, that is. And that is the balance test. There's a balance and grip strength test that you can do. Dynamic and lateral balance. And it's a simple test that when you check your balance, when you apply force and you see what it takes to throw a person out of their balance laterally and dynamically, or if you have a grip meter strength, you can see what their grip strength is like. And you can do that with a person and say, it's medically established around the world that your balance and your grip strength are markers for how your body is aging. So let's see what your balance is like. So you do the balance test and people just tip over when you apply the force. And you say, okay, let's try this. You stick this patch on. They don't know what it is. You just say, let's try this. And some people think it's some kind of a voodoo. When you stick on the patch, it takes so much more force for them to move. And they're usually freaked out with, how is that possible? It's so uncanny that, and if it's grip strength, the grip strength becomes so much stronger, a 30% increase in their grip strength in a matter of seconds. And that freaks people out. How is that possible? How is it that in a matter of seconds, my strength improves and my balance becomes so stable? And that's with the Liberty Patch, by the way. And that's the efficacy of it. That's how fast it works. The neuromuscular coordination from the time you put that patch on, it starts to happen right away. All the patches work that way. Now, all the patches are not going to give you that type of effect, but because of the neuromuscular coordination and the overall homeostasis of the brain that the Liberty brings is why you can give that effect with almost immediate change with your grip strength and your balance. If you have not had that done, get it done. Let Joel or Judy do the balance test for you. And you'll see how much pressure. You could even stand up on one foot and see, you play some force, that's just physics. You're going to lose your balance. Put the patch on, it takes a lot more force even to move you. And that always blows people's mind. So yes, there are ways that you can also test the efficacy besides with an EEG. I have a small EEG set that I've been testing some of the patches with. And I also have looked at the patches using blood, looking at the blood before and after. This is living blood. And I've seen the difference that it makes in a short period of time. Within a couple of hours, it begins to change the blood. So, yeah, I have not just been going by what is published in terms of the research. I have not just been going by my own experience and other people's experience. I like to get a little bit deeper into it. And so there's no question about it. In fact, let me tell you, I have now come to the point where I am convinced because I'm always in the market looking for what I understand technology is going to always improve, it's going to continue. And there's going to be something one day that's going to probably trump Super Patch. Is going to be, I was telling someone the other day, they're going to come up with some device that you will strap it on your hand and you have a pain, you only got to think relief and the relief is there. You only got to think energy and your energy is there. You ain't got to do anything. You only got to think it and it's going to happen. One day they'll get to that point because you're already at a point where you're moving things inside your body and you're moving things outside your body on a computer just by your thoughts, just by consciousness. So we're not too far from things like that. But I'll tell you this, Super Patch, and this is where the research matters. When you do the research on these piezo channels, that is relatively new in science, and you see what it means for medicine, and what Super Patch is doing right now because of this research. Can you imagine balancing blood pressure, balancing blood sugar, by putting a patch on without introducing anything into your body? It brings your pressure and your sugar right back into balance. Stem cell signaling, activating these stem cells in your body, which is what does all the repairing. DNA regulation and telomere regulation and lengthening. Gut health, balancing the gut health axis to improve your gut health and your digestion. Vaccine injuries from using vaccines. These are things that the company are currently in development of right now, which they'll roll out over the next couple of years. These are massive, massive things that medicine, this company is like way ahead of the curve when it comes to traditional healthcare. So it's I think there's nothing else like it. Bearing in mind, this is not just neurology, is not just physiology. Neurology is psychology and physiology. And if you could enhance both of those, that's absolutely life-changing. How many patches can one wear at a time?
There's another question before that also, about the combination of patches for, again, diabetes and neuropathy.
There is no patches for diabetes or diabetic neuropathy. There's none. But if you can get your autonomic nervous system properly regulated, and the key to reversing a lot of these, what they may want to call autoimmune type conditions, of which diabetes fall in the category of, is to get your immune system so well modulated and regulated. That's one of your central keys. I know one person who's been diabetic for 20 years, using, and these are the patches. So I can't tell you that any of them are for diabetes, but how they enhance how the body works. Using Defend, using Victory, using Peace, using Liberty. Those 4 patches. After, this is an insulin-dependent diabetic, by the way, who's been on insulin for years. This is a guy that's in his 70s. Using them for probably 8 months. And just about 3 days ago, speaking to him about 3 days ago, he said his doctor is considering moving him from insulin to oral medication. The swelling that he had in his feet, the circulation problem that he had in his feet, the discoloration he had in his feet, completely gone. The diabetic neuropathy he used to have, completely gone. Ask him, his friends ask him, which one of the patches, he knows the story. He said, inside of this combination, it happened, I can't tell you which one, but somewhere inside of there, it happened. And that's exactly how it is. They just enhance the autonomic nervous system that regulates, the immune system that helps to regulate, the coordination of all biological systems by the liberty, and your body just starts doing what it naturally is designed to do. And because it's actually enhancing that mind-body connection, that brain-to-body balance, and the body does what it naturally has to do. So please be very careful. And the company is so strong on this because they know that they're going to get blowback from the powers that be as they press forward. The company is very strong on misrepresentation by saying, oh, we got a patch for this. We don't have a patch for anything like that. We have patches that will help to enhance how the body functions through mind-body communication. The body, which built and runs and controls everything on its own and has the capacity to heal and regenerate, it does what it naturally does because we are reestablishing proper brain to body function. Brain body. That's all the patches are doing. The patches are helping the mechanism that does the repair. The patches do not do any repair themselves. So that's really how many different patches. You can wear all if you want. None is gonna, it's not like medication wear, or you can have contraindications, or one is gonna cancel out the other. They're all for different specific neural networks, of which we have thousands of them in our brain. But these are just 13 patches that work with specific neural networks, and so you can wear them all. Not that you will ever need to wear all. Right now I have 5 different patches. On any given day, I would wear anywhere between 4 to 6 patches on any given day. Okay. Of different types. And then you may want to just watch how you might combine them, because like boost for energy, you're not going to put on a boost if you at night when you're going to be using REM to sleep. You're not going to wear those two together. So just little things like that. Also, again, the patches, they are not going to override your habits. What I mean by that is, if you go and drink a Red Bull or a Monster at 5 o'clock in the evening, and then at 10 o'clock at night, you put on the REM patch to help you to sleep, it is not going to override the stimulants that Red Bull put into your body that revved up your metabolism. It's not going to override that. You're just not going to sleep properly because you drank a whole bunch of stimulants. It's not going to shut that down because it's just neurology. It's not substance in your body. Those little things are important. Let me tell you, remember this, there are so many nuances to this. This is brain-body communication. If you get 2 people in the gym and they have on the victory patch and they're looking for athletic performance and they're going to be doing the same exercises, 2 men, let's say they'll be doing bench presses with the dumbbells. And one guy, he is excited to be in the gym. He is into his workout. He is lying there on the bench and he is focusing on his posture and he's making sure his posture is correct. And he is looking forward to what this means to him. The other guy next to him, pushing the same weights, doing the same exercise, but he's like a completely different state of mind. He is there and he's thinking, I really don't want to be here at all, you know. I'm only here because they forced me to come here. I'd rather be doing this. I'm supposed to be, and his mind is completely out of it. He will not see the same results as the guy who's engaged. It's neurology. It's like the person who puts on the focus patch and goes and sit down and engage in a very passive activity like watching TV. Or just staring at the sunset and say, well, this thing don't work. Well, what were you expecting to happen when you put it on? Now go and sit down and go and engage the centers of your brain that requires attention, focus, concentration, and watch and see what will happen. But if you're going to go and engage in a passive activity that doesn't engage the centers of your brain that require that, the focus patch is not going to do anything for you. They're not stimulants. So you have to just understand those type of things. It is brain-body communication. What else we have here?
Dr. Homer, I have a question, a burning question.
Cross pathways at some point. Well,
Dr.
Ken says, I want to believe that the pathways cross, I want to believe that the patches cross pathways. Yes, that's absolutely because the brainwave activity, your brainwave activity crisscrosses. They interface with each other. So yes, they could cross pathways like that. So absolutely that could happen. So that's why certain combination of patches, you may just want to be mindful how you might wear certain things with other things, that one can negate the other. like I said, you're not going to, if you have insomnia problems and you use the REM at sleep at night, you're not going to put on um, one that's going to give you energy and boost your energy, things like that.
Dr. Woman, question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Good. Um, someone with malignancy, which are the patches you would recommend for them, other than the Liberty and the Defend? From listening to you, what would be the patches that you would recommend to individuals? Would
Well,
that
it depends on where the malignancy is.
okay?
But of course, liberty is foundation. Everything is liberty. Liberty is for everything.
Mm-hmm.
Liberty, obviously, they defend,
Mm-hmm.
and liberty, defend, and peace
Peace.
are
Okay.
almost always going to be standard
Okay.
in most cases,
Right.
because when you say to people that lifestyle diseases and autoimmune diseases, that the root of these conditions are psychological,
Mm-hmm.
it's hard for a lot of people to swallow that. And even if they accept it as so, and even though psychoneuroimmunology and epigenetics proves that in practical application, it's not applied. Everything is still what do I take for it, as opposed to what do I change or how do I live or how do I adjust um, my perception, my beliefs, my thinking. We don't look in that direction. We look at what do I need to take for it, because the conditioning that we've had, which it takes a little while to rewrite that as well, is that the first of all, just to even accept that health is our natural state, and that in a state of health there could be no disease. That's hard even to swallow for some people. How many times when we were in the clinic, how many times I've had people come in and say, Doc, I just came for just a checkup. I'm doing pretty good. I'm in pretty good shape. I just want to check up to see how things are. And they're on diabetic medication, they're on hypertensive medication. And
Yes.
because it's controlled, they think, I'm healthy. That's not health. But some say that's, but we're taught to think that that's being healthy. Healthy is, I don't feel sick. But not feeling sick doesn't mean you're healthy. In fact, if you think that not feeling sick means you're healthy, I guarantee you're going to get sick because you're still looking in the wrong direction. A mindset of positivity brings positivity, absolutely. So in terms of that, it depends on Judy where the malignancy may be, but those are foundational.
Yes.
Liberty, defend, peace. Again, I mean, you're covering the major systems of your body when you do that.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, all the other things will apply with what you do in your practice. The other things will apply. All that's going to do is enhance it, perhaps speed up the recovery, make it more efficient in working.
Correct.
But the patches will not replace nutrition.
Mm-hmm.
Although the patches may balance the chemistry of the blood to some degree, there's still some aspects of the biochemistry, and the patches will not interface that you need diet to do. So it's all a holistic thing working together.
Correct.
So
Good.
but the patches are, I mean, I don't know anything that really has this kind of impact. Just the approach itself, where you're not addressing the illness, but you're addressing the mechanism that does the healing or the regulation of the illness. And that is, and because that is so individual, it's hard to say how one person will be affected over another. So I've heard some people saying, talking to other people like that, you use the liberty, man, I'll tell you in the first week this is going to happen. You don't know that that's going to be so. It may have been so for you, but another person may have pre-existing imbalances that they themselves don't even know exist, that the body has to deal with before it gets to whatever the complaint may be. So it's very individual. And it has a certain amount of, there's a certain amount of a trust, I would imagine, because it's not something that we're familiar with. When you say to people that there's nothing in the patch or nothing on the patch that goes into your body, yet they get that response, it doesn't compute at the beginning, you know. So before I joined Super Patch, I was testing the patches on people. I was using the patches for a number of weeks, and I was testing it on people to see people's response. And when I would say to people, and the one that really convinced me really is the pain patch, is the freedom patch. And I didn't have any pain to speak of, so that one I was like, anybody that talked about pain, I was saying, here, try this, try this, try this. And I saw all kinds of different responses. And when I would say, people would say, oh man, what's in it? That's the first question. What's in it? I said, there's nothing in it. What's on it? I said, there's nothing on it. So how is it? And it was just always, it's so mysterious that some people, it can be so mysterious to them that they'll just take it off right away and say, I don't know, the thing is messing with me. And you get all kinds of responses because it's just so different. To say that there's nothing in it or on it, but yet you get that response. And then when you explain to them, for some people, I don't worry to go through the whole braille thing. I just say, if I put a key in your hand, if I say close your eyes and I put a key, you hold the key. Do you think you know what it is? They say, of course. How would you know? Well, I know what a key feels like. I could tell it's a key in my hand. But the only way, I said, no, the only way you know that's a key is because there are receptors in your skin that sends a message to your brain, which is encoded already there because of your experience that tells you it was a key. I said, you know what? If I was to shut down all the receptors in your hand and you held it, all you would know is there's something in my hand. You would have no idea what it is. Because there's these sensors in your skin, these ion channels, it sends a message to your brain. The pattern is just reading a pattern. How does the brain know what this pattern is supposed to do? That is the proprietary. That's what's proprietary to Super Patch. Now there is a video. I don't know if I'll send it to you, Judy, where Jay, the founder, and the guy who's the architect behind this, he describes the whole journey of Super Patch and throughout the whole 15 years that brought him to discovering this thing. 15 years of neuroscience research that led him to discover how to make that match with certain patterns. And if you look at the patterns on it, it looks like a fingerprint. They're like fingerprint like looking patterns. He didn't patent it, he copyrighted it. When you patent something, you have to reveal the technology. He did not want to reveal what his 15 years, so he did like what Disney and them were like, how Disney copyright Mickey Mouse. So you can open a theme park, but you can't use Mickey Mouse, otherwise you'll get sued. So he copyrighted his fingerprint. Now the pattern is not the fingerprint. The pattern is microscopic inside of that pattern. That pattern, that fingerprint pattern, actually hides it. It's microscopic inside of there. In fact, the microscopic nature of it is such that I was speaking to Dr. Anna Toko, who is one of the doctors in the advisory team. She's saying that it is so microscopic inside of there that's touching the skin that if you take a patch off, you likely would have damaged the pattern. So that if you put a patch on and decide, oh shoot, and you take it off to put it on, it may still work, but there's a good chance you already damaged the pattern already, and to move it from one place to the other. So that is what is proprietary to Super Patch. They discovered what sequence of patterns will signal what response in the brain to correct what neural pathway. I used liberty and freedom for a few days, and I don't know if it was that, but I was able to move around with my sister who was here in TNT on vacation for 2 weeks. I think it energized me. My sister complimented me for taking her around during the time she was here. I lost that. Where did it go? Okay, I see. One of the things that liberty will do, if a person did use nothing else but liberty, after a while of taking it, it could happen within days, it could happen within your first week, it could happen within your second week. And by the way, all the clinicals that's done on it is over a 2 week period. So, but one of the things that will happen is that, and I've heard almost everybody say this, is you're going to get more vitality. It's not more energy. It's vitality, not energy. The other thing that I find, these are some of the very common things that, I don't know, maybe 80% of people that use Liberty say to me, they sleep better. They have more vitality. They feel stronger. They could tell the difference like walking up. These are like more senior people. I get up these steps a lot better. I found myself going up these steps and not having to hold the rail. My dad, who just turned 90, who, because of a back injury and issue with his legs, used to use a stick or a walker if he had to walk a bit of a distance. He uses no walker or a stick anymore since he's using Liberty. So yeah, it'll do.
Awesome.
For me, the biggest thing that has happened for me in this is how this has enhanced my digestive system. I'm talking about not just the system. Judy, you may remember that 34 years ago, I had a surgery done on my stomach.
Yeah.
These things muscle I top my stomach.
Yes.
When that surgery was done, what happened is that the muscle at the top of my stomach closed. It opens when food is going in and it closes when the food goes in.
Mm-hmm.
My cardiac sphincter, the muscle, it just closed in and it locked. And I couldn't eat nor drink, nothing would get into my stomach. And I started starving and I started losing weight. And the doctor said there's only one solution. We have to go in there, cut it, and let it pop open. But you'll not have the use of that muscle anymore. But that's the only solution we can come up with. You have to go in there, cut it, and let it pop open. Okay, well, there was no option. At that time, I didn't understand what was going on, and there was no other option except you starve. So they went in and did the surgery, and they cut the muscle, and the muscle popped open.
Mm-hmm.
Over the years, the muscle with scar tissue closed right back in. And it left a 5 millimeter hole. 5 millimeters is the size of a pencil. It left a 5 millimeter hole and the doctor said, the only thing we could do again is go in and cut it, but this time we're gonna cut it all the way through and it will never work again. Otherwise, we do not know how you're gonna get food through that little hole. But that's all I was there. I opted not to take that surgery again. I said, I will figure it out. Years later, 10 years later, I went to get an endoscopy done just because I was curious to see what was happening there. When the doctor saw it, this 5 millimeter hole, he said, I'm surprised that you're not skinny like a rake. How do you even get food into your stomach? How are you not malnourished? How does food even get in there? He said, oh. So he went, do you get nauseous? Do you vomit? I said, no, I'm not having any of that. But over the years, I lived on enzymes and I took probiotics because I knew I needed. And I have to sit down, I have to chew my food so well. Because if a chunk of food ever get away and go down in there and I block it, I have to go to the bathroom and bring it up so I can continue eating. That went on for more than 20 years because this muscle is stuck because of scar tissue that formed around and it's stuck with just a tiny opening. Now, and every time I eat, I gotta do this. I gotta help it down, or people see me eating, they do it because I have to help. I have to help the food down past that juncture. I hardly ever do that now, and drinking a glass of water was impossible. When I drink a glass of water, it fills up. And I have to wait till it slowly trickles in through that thing. Now I can drink a glass of water. Now I can eat food, and the muscle now is starting to work. That is, medically, that's miraculous.
Mm-hmm.
The nerves, despite the scar tissue, the nerves are starting to function again. Now, why I locked up in the first place? Well, that's neurological. It was because of stresses. It locked up, and they said we don't know why it locked up. We don't know why I want, but let's open it. So, to me, that's huge for me that I can now sit down and eat food more comfortably, and don't have to be.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm feeling it just going into my stomach now, and it feels good that after more than 20 years, and this is after a few months of taking, no, if somebody said which patch was it,
Can't say which one. Mm-hmm.
I believe that if I had to label it or highlight one, I would say it's the Liberty, because of how the Liberty helps the vagus nerve, how it helps the digestive system, but it could be also, I use the piece quite often, so the autonomic nervous system, which regulates pretty much everything in your body, things start to become more coordinated and it's starting to work better. So these things are invaluable. Yeah.
Okay.
Can touching the pattern interfere with its effectiveness? The pattern is on the underside of it. When you feel the patch, you'll feel that pattern on the outside, but the pattern that your skin is reading is on the inside. You can't see it because it's microscopic. So when you peel the patch off, peel the back end off, you don't want to hold the underside. There's an edge that goes around it where it's just a clean edge, but it's enough for you to hold it and then place it on. And the company, later on this year, the company has announced that they are making the patches slightly smaller and they're using a different breathable material now. And they're going to start come up with this new generation of patches. But yeah, you don't want to peel it off and like hold. I don't have any patches here with me.
Most of them familiar with
Right, don't
Dr.
hold the sticky side. Don't hold the underside that's sticky. Just hold the edge, peel it off, and stick it on.
Correct.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, you should not touch up. Okay. Yeah.
I think that would be it for today.
Well, the boss has spoken. So yes, well, anyway,
He's enjoying it because everybody's all attentive. But it's amazing that 2 hours went by so quickly.
is that really?
Yes.
You
Yeah.
I know my bedtime.
Yeah, but I'll tell you,
Yes.
don't think of the patches. Don't think of the patches as a pill you're going to try to see. The patches, the longer you wear them, and particularly, people ask me all the time, do you have to wear this for the rest of your life? How long do you wear them? If you want to keep your brain well coordinated and functioning more orderly, always use Liberty.
Yeah.
Because if you understand, and you should do some research on it, what that type of coordination, almost no human knows how to do that unless you are an experienced meditator and you've been meditating in a monastery for years to get that kind of coordination. But what that means to your health and well-being, you always want that. So Liberty, Do you use it? Use it all the time. Think of it as part of your daily apparel or your accessories that you wear. That defend to keep your immune system at its peak, especially if you go places where you're interacting with all sorts of people and crowds, you need to have the defend on. And keeping your autonomic nervous system well regulated. When you understand what that really does for your body, you don't want to be without those three. Those three, you use those all the time. As far as the rest goes, as you may need it. You know, you go to the gym, put on the Victory, you get a much better workout. You're into sports, put it on. You're going through your stuff. I used to say to people, if you're studying or you're into a lot of mental work or your job required, put on the Focus. But I have started using the Focus, whether I'm doing engaging or not. I just wear it because I want that neural network that deals with those. I want it to become more balanced and regulated. So basically, there's three that I say you use all the time, and others one you could use it. And it all depends on what you're trying to achieve. And if you add joy to it, your days are great. Your days are great. Yeah.
So,
I want to believe that all the patches are okay, great. Okay, we finish here.
yes, Dr. Homer, I would like to say a special
Thank you,
thank.
Joanne.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, sorry, go ahead. You're still reading?
No, I just saw, no, I'm at the end now.
Okay. And I would like to take this moment to thank each and every one that is on the chat tonight and who is well engaged into the conversation tonight, learning about the Super Patch. Thank you for joining in. And of course, we thank you, Dr. Homer, for taking the time off. We feel very privileged because we know it's supposed to be 1 hour, but we went on to 2 hours.
That's okay. I'll bill you for the extra hour.
Okay. Oh, that's okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Oh, you understand. It was my pleasure. It was my pleasure.
Yes, so I guess we will work out something again, and we can always have a follow-up conversation to this meeting tonight.
Sure. You just give me a heads up.
Sure.
And we'll go from there.
Yes. So again, thank you so much, and everybody's extending their gratitude. And I would like to say good night to everyone.
Right. So I don't, the person that requested the recording, I don't know how that's going to work because this is kind of long.
Very
Anyway,
long.
it doesn't matter, but we'll, he would, at least you can get the presentation part of it and
Right.
not all the questions and so.
Oh.
Okay, everyone, you have a good night. Everybody rest
Good night, everybody. Thanks, Doc.
Hey,
Yes.
that's Joel is hiding in the corner there. Look. Uh-oh.
Joel is on.
I was on. You didn't know I was on?
Yes, I'm looking at this picture, but somehow I think I can know that I hear the
Oh.
voice. Yeah. Okay, guys. Have a good.
Yes, thank you, everyone.